We are going to show you how we built this audio cabinet for a customer of ours. But first, a quick update about this channel and where it's going. We started a second channel called Mack's Supply, and that channel will be the home of all of our how-to and educational videos. This channel will be focused on unique full build projects. All right, let's get started. They sent us some inspirational photos that were consistent with the mid-century era, along with some dimensions of their audio equipment. Most importantly, we were asked to include a bit of Japanese flair. We had the perfect idea to incorporate that. We had the perfect pieces of dimensional mahogany in our shop that were left over from a job we did for a restaurant in Toronto a few years ago. Mahogany is pretty popular as it is one of the most workable woods. It's relatively easy to cut, sand, and router. However, it can have a characteristic called road grain. This means that the grain tends to reverse in a kind of row-by-row fashion. The grain reversals can mean that an inch strip likes to be planed left to right, and the next inch over likes to be planed right to left. Basically, all of this to say you can get some pretty bad tear out while planing. We'll see if we encounter that issue. We started off ripping our pieces to rough sizes to make it more manageable to work with. Then we sent some test pieces through our jointer and then through our planer to see what we'd be dealing with. From our test pieces, we decided we could send them through our planer without having to use a plywood sled. We managed to get them to our final thickness without any issues, although it did take a while with a lot of thin passes to avoid the chance of tear out. Mid-century really embraced a modern, organic way of living. It has become the flagship of retro styling amongst the late period space age era. When looking at wood species most commonly found in 50s and 60s furniture, teak, rosewood, mahogany, and walnut were all major materials used during that era. Countries like America, Britain, and Denmark each had their own wood of preference. After we got our pieces cut to size, we moved on to cutting our dominoes. We tend to use dominoes in our shop as a preferred joinery method. They're quick and accurate while being much stronger than a biscuit joint. Because we had so many pieces to assemble, we ended up making a jig to keep our dominoes aligned and precise. With all of our pieces prepped, we began our glue up. This process was fun. We did it in 2 sections or else we would have run out of clamping space. This section will hold the record player, which we designed to sit recessed into the stand. This multi-level design provides a more desirable appearance instead of a giant rectangular box. Once the first assembly dried, we moved on to the second glue up. We recessed the middle runner, which will act as a divider for record storage. Naturally, we gave it a rounded finish detail and decided to run with that for the rest of the project, helping separate itself from a more minimalistic style. We knew the door on this unit was where we would include a touch of Japanese style, and we had to decide what material would match best with the mahogany. So we processed a few different materials, oiled them up for a better idea on the finished product, and after holding up these sample pieces, we chose to go with walnut. This would also serve as the material for our legs, which we are going to tackle first. We designed the feet to be 3 pieces. We drew up a shape that portrayed some similar designs from the era, which fit into a runner along the bottom from leg to leg. It was a common detail found on some larger furniture pieces, such as console tables or credenzas. For those of you who may be interested in purchasing templates like these, we just added a bundle of 3 to our website. We'll leave a link in the description. We dominoed these pieces as well, and used the jig to make sure everything stayed aligned when mounting to our cabinet, then sanded everything down and proceeded with a much simpler glue up. Jumping back to the door, we had some milled walnut from a previous job that we joined in order to get the size we needed. Once again, we used dominoes and glued everything up. We had decided this door on the cabinet would be the perfect candidate for some Japanese-styled wood texturing. The hardwood qualities of walnut would naturally enhance the nigiri-inspired pattern we created on its surface. If you want to learn more on how we achieved this look, check out our new channel, Mack Supply, where we will be posting in-depth videos about how-tos, DIY ideas, and general woodworking knowledge. Traditionally, this pattern would be carved by hand with the use of chisels, but we opted to make a router sled to speed up the process. After all, this would prove to be a time-consuming sanding nightmare. With all the components sanded and ready to go, it is time for an oil finish. We almost exclusively use Rubio Monocoat on all our projects. We're really big fans. This was some dry wood. It absorbed a crazy amount of Rubio, but those mahogany grain patterns really popped and looked beautiful. To mount this door, we decided against using traditional cheap-looking hinges. Instead, we opted to use brass pins hidden inside the door itself. To achieve this look and maintain functionality, we accurately measured and drilled 4 holes, 2 in the door and 2 in the cabinet. These would hold the brass pins that you can see being prepped here. While one gets a little spring, the bottom pin stays solidly in place, while the top pin can be pushed down into the spring, allowing the tension to force the pin upwards into the top hole. Once it's in, it's in. With the cabinet nearly complete, we needed to figure out how to manage the audio equipment cables. A simple solution was to use a Forstner bit and drill down into the cabinet. We clamped wooden backing blocks to prevent tear out when drilling. Once through, we drilled another hole exiting the back of the cabinet. The placement of these holes allows for a more hidden, sleek way to hide the cables, which will be hidden by the turntable anyway. All that's left is figuring out a way to open the cabinet door. Our customer had a vintage brass finger pull that would tie in well with the style of this project. With this project now complete, it's off to its new home. We really like how the end grain on the mahogany provided some complementary tones to the darker walnut features that we added to this build. This was a pleasure to build, and we really enjoyed diving into such a stylized, mid-century modern piece of furniture. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting that subscribe button or leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for watching.